Admiral Han Sol Kim stood on the bridge of the massive warship Indomitable, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes held the sharp focus of a man who had seen too many battles. Around him, the crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the endless stream of data that kept Earth's defense fleet running. The communication officer, a young woman named Ji-Hai, suddenly straightened in her chair. Her fingers flew across her control panel as she tried to make sense of what she was receiving. The signal was weak and broken, cutting in and out like a dying radio in a storm. "Admiral," she called out, her voice tight with concern. "I'm getting a distress signal from the Vellani system." Han Sol turned toward her, his thick eyebrows drawing together. The Vellani were peaceful traders who lived 3 star systems away from Earth. They were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced medical knowledge and their refusal to fight anyone, even in self-defense. They had helped Earth many times, sharing their healing technology freely and asking for nothing in return. "Put it through the main speakers," Han Sol ordered. Static filled the bridge, mixed with a high-pitched whining sound that made everyone wince. Then a voice came through, speaking in the musical language of the Vellani. Dr. Eugene Park, the ship's expert on alien languages, quickly activated her translation device. The voice that emerged was filled with terror. "Please, anyone who can hear this message, we need help. They came from nowhere, ships we have never seen before. They are destroying our colonies one by one. Our people are dying, and we cannot stop them." The signal cut out for several seconds, then returned, weaker than before. "We have no weapons, no way to fight back. They take our people and leave nothing behind. Please, if there is anyone out there who can help us, we are begging you. This may be our last transmission." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the ship's engines. Han Sol felt a cold anger building in his chest. The Vellani had saved thousands of human lives during the plague outbreak 20 years ago. They had worked day and night to create medicines that could cure the deadly disease, and they had given it to Earth for free. How long ago was this message sent? Han Sol asked. Ji-Hai checked her instruments. 3 days, sir. It took that long to reach us. 3 days. The Vellani could already be dead by now. Han Sol walked to his command chair and sat down heavily. He activated his personal communication device and sent a priority message to Earth's military headquarters. While he waited for a response, he called up the tactical display showing the area around the Vellani system. Their 3 worlds were shown as green dots, surrounded by the normal shipping lanes and communication relays. Everything looked normal on the display, but Han Sol knew that meant nothing. Space was vast, and it was easy to hide an attacking fleet if you knew what you were doing. "Captain Bao Ram Lee," Han Sol called into his communicator. "Report to the bridge immediately." A few minutes later, the door to the bridge slid open, and Captain Lee walked in. She was small and quick, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her ship, the Ghostwind, was one of Earth's newest stealth vessels, designed to slip past enemy sensors without being detected. "Admiral," she said, saluting. "You wanted to see me? I want you to take the Ghostwind and scout the Vellani system." Han Sol said, "Find out what happened to them and who is responsible." Bahram nodded. "How soon do you want me to leave?" "Immediately." "And Bio-Ram," Han Sol's voice became harder. "Be careful. Whoever did this to the Vellani might still be there." As Bio-Ram left to prepare her ship, Han Sol's communicator buzzed with an incoming message from Earth. The face of General Tae-Min Yoon appeared on the small screen, his expression grim. "Han Sol, we received the Vellani distress call. The Galactic Council is meeting to discuss the situation." Han Sol felt his jaw tighten. The Galactic Council was made up of representatives from dozens of different alien species. They were supposed to keep peace in the galaxy, but they moved slowly and spent more time talking than acting. "How long will they take to decide?" Hansal asked. "Could be weeks," General Yoon admitted. "You know how they are. Every species wants to have their say, and they all have different ideas about what should be done." "The Velani don't have weeks," Hansal said flatly. "I know. That's why I'm giving you emergency authorization to act on your own. The President has approved the deployment of Task Force 7. Hansal felt a surge of satisfaction. Task Force 7 was Earth's most powerful military unit, made up of the newest and most advanced ships in the human fleet. It included 5 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, and dozens of smaller vessels, all crewed by Earth's best fighters. "Thank you, General. We'll leave as soon as the task force is assembled." "Hansal," General Yoon's voice became serious. "We don't know what you're going up against. The Velani message suggests this enemy is unlike anything we've seen before. Be ready for anything." "Understood, sir." As the communication ended, Hansal stood and walked to the main viewing screen. In the distance, he could see the lights of other human ships as they moved into formation. Earth's children were preparing for war once again. Dr. Eugene Park approached him, holding a data pad. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the Velani message. There's something strange about it." "What do you mean?" "The background noise in the transmission. It's not random static. There's a pattern to it, almost like another signal hidden underneath the main message." Hansal took the data pad and looked at the complex waveforms displayed on its screen. To him, it looked like meaningless squiggles, but he trusted Eugene's expertise. "What kind of signal?" "I'm not sure yet. It might be some kind of scanning beam or communication from the attackers. But there's something else, Admiral. The frequency pattern is similar to readings we got from deep space probes near the edge of the galaxy." A chill ran down Hansal's spine. The edge of the galaxy was unexplored territory, a vast region of space where no one had ever traveled. If the attackers came from there, it meant they were dealing with something completely unknown. "Keep working on it," he told Eugene. "I want to know everything you can find out before we reach the Velani system." As the hours passed, more ships joined the task force. The sight of Earth's war fleet assembling filled Hansal with both pride and worry. These ships and their crews represented the best that humanity had to offer, but would it be enough? The human race had earned a reputation as Deathworlders among the galactic community. Earth was a harsh planet with extreme weather, dangerous animals, and constant natural disasters. Other alien species lived on peaceful worlds with stable climates and gentle environments. They looked at humans as violent barbarians who had been shaped by their hostile home world. But that reputation had also made Earth's military forces feared throughout the galaxy. When humans went to war, they fought with a determination and ruthlessness that other species found shocking. They adapted quickly to new situations and never gave up, no matter how bad things looked. Now that reputation would be put to the test against an unknown enemy. Hansal's thoughts were interrupted by Ji Hai's voice. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Captain Lee." "Put her through." Bioram's face appeared on the main screen, but the image was distorted and filled with interference. Her voice came through clearly, though, and what she said made everyone on the bridge go cold. "Admiral, you need to see this. The Velani system is gone." The human fleet moved through space like a pack of hunting wolves, their engines glowing blue in the darkness. Admiral Hansal stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display as they approached the Velani system. "Captain." Bioram's scouting report had been brief but terrifying. The entire system was dead. Commander Taeho Choi checked his weapons one more time. He led the Storm Ravens, Earth's elite marine unit, and his men were ready for anything. At least, he hoped they were. The thick-set commander had fought in a dozen battles across the galaxy, but something about this mission felt different. Wrong. All ships, reduce speed to half, Hansal ordered. Stay alert for any signs of enemy activity. The fleet slowed as they entered the outer edge of the Valani system. What they saw on their screens made even the most experienced soldiers gasp in shock. Where 3 beautiful green worlds should have been, there were only gray, lifeless rocks floating in space. Engineer So Young-Jang worked at her station, scanning the dead planets with every sensor the fleet had. Her readings made no sense. The planets weren't just destroyed. They had been drained of everything that made them alive. The oceans were gone, the atmosphere was poison, and the ground was covered with strange black crystals. "Admiral," So Young said, her voice shaking. "Slightly. I'm reading massive energy signatures from the planet's surfaces. Something is still active down there." Hansal nodded grimly. "Send down a probe. I want to know what those energy readings are." The probe shot toward the nearest planet, its cameras sending back images that made everyone sick. The beautiful cities of the Valani were gone, replaced by huge geometric structures that pulsed with dark energy. The structures were perfect triangles and squares made of some black material that seemed to absorb light. Lieutenant Wu Jin Nam, the fleet's best reconnaissance officer, studied the probe's data with growing horror. "Sir, those structures are not buildings. They're some kind of collection devices." "Collection devices for what?" Hansal asked. Wu Jin's face went pale. "Life energy, sir. They're harvesting the life force from every living thing on the planet." Dr. Eugene Park had been working non-stop since they arrived, trying to understand the alien technology they were seeing. Her translation computers couldn't make sense of the signals coming from the geometric structures, but her scientific instruments told a horrifying story. "Admiral," she said, "I've never seen anything like this. These devices don't just kill living things, they steal the essence of life itself. According to my readings, they've collected the life energy from billions of creatures." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Every Valani on all 3 planets, men, women, and children, had been murdered and their life force stolen by whatever had built those terrible machines. "Commander," Choi's jaw tightened. "Admiral, request permission to take a team down to the surface. We need to see these devices up close." Hansal wanted to say no. He didn't want to risk his people on the dead worlds below. But they needed information about their enemy, and Choi's Marines were the best soldiers in the fleet. "Permission granted, Commander, but be careful. Take full protective gear and don't touch anything." As Choi prepared his team, Captain B.O. Ram returned from another scouting mission to the outer system. Her stealth ship Ghost Wind had been searching for any trace of the attackers. What she found was even more disturbing than the dead planets. "Admiral, there's a ship drifting near the edge of the system. It's huge, maybe 5 times bigger than our largest cruiser, but it appears to be abandoned." Hansal studied the images Bio-Ram had taken. The ship was unlike anything in the human database. It looked more grown than built, with smooth curves and organic-looking surfaces. But it was clearly dead, floating motionless in space. "Any signs of life aboard?" Hansal asked. "None. But Admiral, the ship's design matches some of the geometric patterns we're seeing on the planet's surface. I think it belongs to whoever did this." Hansal made a decision that would change everything. "B.O. Ram, take a boarding team and search that ship. Find out everything you can about our enemy." While Bao-Ram prepared for her dangerous mission, Commander Choi and his Marines landed on the first planet. They wore full environmental suits, knowing that the poisoned atmosphere would kill them in seconds without protection. The landing site had once been a Valani city of 2 million people. Now it was a wasteland of black crystal and twisted metal. The geometric structures rose from the ground like dark monuments, each one humming with captured life energy. Marine Sergeant Key 1 approached one of the smaller structures, his scanner beeping rapidly. "Commander, this thing is still active. It's drawing power from somewhere." Choi studied his own readings. The energy patterns were like nothing in human science. Whatever these things are, they're connected to each other. All of them across the entire planet. As the Marines explored the dead city, they found evidence of the Villani's final moments. Blast marks on buildings showed they had tried to fight back, but their peaceful technology was useless against the attackers. Bodies were nowhere to be found. Everything had been absorbed by the geometric collectors. Meanwhile, Captain Bio-Ram and her boarding team entered the alien ship through a hole torn in its hull. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors that curved and twisted in impossible ways. The walls were covered with the same black crystal they had seen on the planets. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Specialist Han Wook as he followed Bio-Ram deeper into the ship. They found what looked like a control room, filled with floating crystals that pulsed with weak light. Bio-Ram's technical officer, engineer, Dong-Sik, tried to interface with the alien systems. "Captain, I'm getting some readings from these crystals. They seem to contain information, like computer data storage." As Dong-Sik worked, Bao-Ram explored further into the ship. What she found in the central chamber made her blood run cold. Thousands of small containers lined the walls, each one glowing with captured life energy. Inside the containers, she could see faint shapes, the preserved essence of living beings. "My God," she whispered into her communicator. "They're keeping them alive in there. All the people they've taken, they're stored in these things." Dr. Yu Jin's voice crackled through the comm system from the Indomitable. "Captain, be very careful. Those containers might be connected to some kind of hive mind. The aliens could be using the stored life energy to power their ships and weapons." Bio-Ram was about to reply when Engineer Dong-Sik called out in alarm. "Captain, the crystals are activating. Something's happening." The floating crystals began to glow brighter, and a voice filled the alien ship. It spoke in no language any human had ever heard, but somehow they could understand its meaning. The voice was cold and emotionless, like the sound of machines grinding. "Together, organic life forms detected. You will be processed and stored. Resistance is futile. Your life energy will serve the collective." Images flashed through the minds of everyone on the boarding team. They saw fleets of the biomechanical, ships traveling between stars, harvesting entire civilizations and turning their life force into fuel. They saw thousands of species that had already been consumed, their essence trapped forever in crystal containers. The voice continued its terrible message. "We are the Null Collective. We have consumed the life force of 10,000 worlds. Your species will join the others in eternal service to our expansion." Ba-Oram fought against the alien mental intrusion and managed to activate her emergency beacon. "All teams, get out now. This ship is some kind of trap." As the boarding team ran for their shuttle, the alien ship began to come alive around them. Lights flickered on, and they could hear the sound of machinery starting up. Whatever had been sleeping in the ship was waking up. They barely made it to their shuttle before the alien ship's weapons came online. Energy beams lanced out, trying to destroy the small human craft. Bio-Ram's piloting skills kept them alive as they raced back toward the fleet. "Admiral," she called over the cone, "we've got trouble. That ship wasn't abandoned. It was sleeping. And I think we just woke up something that should have stayed dead." On the surface of the planet, Commander Choi's team saw the geometric structures suddenly flare with new energy. The collected life force was being activated, sent out into space toward some unknown destination. "Commander, Sergeant K1 shouted. "The collectors are powering up. We need to leave now." As the human forces retreated from the dead system, long-range sensors picked up new contacts approaching from deep space. Admiral Han Sol watched the tactical display with growing dread as dozens of alien ships appeared on the screen. The Null Collective had heard their call and was coming to investigate. Earth's first encounter with humanity's greatest enemy was about to begin. The first battle began without warning. Admiral Han Sol was still processing the sensor data when the Null Collective ships opened fire. Beams of dark energy lanced across space, striking the human fleet with impossible accuracy. General Miran. Song watched from the bridge of the heavy cruiser Defiance as one of her destroyer escorts simply vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. The dark energy had passed through the ship's shields like they weren't there, and dissolved the entire vessel into nothing. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Han Sol ordered, "Return fire with everything we have." The human fleet scattered, their captains using every trick they had learned in decades of warfare. But the Null ships moved differently than any enemy they had faced before. They flowed through space like liquid, changing direction without slowing down, their biomechanical hulls rippling with each movement. Pilot Daeun Shin launched from the carrier, Thunderbird along with her Valkyrie squadron. 20 of humanity's best fighter pilots streaked toward the alien ships, their weapons charging for attack runs. Daeun had shot down enemy fighters in 6 different star systems, but nothing had prepared her for this. Valkyrie leader to all. "Fighters," she called over the comms. "These things don't move like normal ships. Watch their energy patterns and try to predict where they're going." The human missiles struck the Null ships and exploded in brilliant flashes of light. For a moment, Daeun thought they had damaged the enemy. Then she watched in horror as the alien hulls simply grew back, healing the damage in seconds. "There! Regenerating!" she shouted. "Our weapons aren't working." On the Indomitable, Tech Sergeant Jun Ho Kang worked frantically at his engineering station. His job was to keep the ship's weapons and defenses running, but every system he tried failed against the alien attack. The Null energy beams passed through their shields like they were made of paper. "Admiral," Jun Ho called out, "their weapons exist in multiple dimensions. Our shields can only block attacks in normal space, but these beams are coming from somewhere else." Han Sol gritted his teeth as another human ship disappeared. They were being slaughtered, and nothing they did seemed to hurt the enemy. Then he remembered something from Captain Bill Ram's report about the alien ship they had boarded. "All ships, target the geometric structures on the planet's surface," he ordered. "Those collectors are feeding energy to the enemy fleet." The human ships turned their weapons toward the dead Villani world. Missiles and energy beams struck the dark triangular and square structures. When the first collector exploded, something unexpected happened. A wave of released life energy erupted from the destroyed structure, washing over the nearby Null ships. For the first time since the battle began, the aliens showed damage. There, biomechanical hulls writhed in what looked like pain, and one of the smaller ships stopped moving entirely. "That's it," Engineer So Young Jang shouted from her station. "The collectors store life energy, but when they're destroyed, that energy is released back into normal space. It's like poison to the Null ships." Han Sol smiled grimly. Finally, they had found a weapon that worked. "All ships, concentrate fire on the planet-side collectors. Destroy as many as you can." The tide of battle began to turn. As more collectors exploded, waves of life energy swept through the Null fleet. The alien ships started to retreat, pulling back from the violent releases of power they had stolen from the Villani. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Half of the human fleet was gone, and the survivors were badly damaged. Worse, long range. Sensors were picking up more null ships approaching from deep space. Many more. Captain Boram brought the Ghost Wind alongside the Indomitable, her stealth ship's hull scarred by near misses from the alien weapons. Through the viewing port, Han Sol could see her ship's crew working to repair battle damage. "Admiral," Boram's voice came through the com. "I've been analyzing the enemy formation patterns. These ships we fought, they're just scouts. The real Null fleet is still coming." Dr. Eugene Park had been studying the energy readings from the destroyed collectors. What she found was both encouraging and terrifying. "Admiral, each collector we destroyed released the life energy from thousands of beings. But according to my calculations, we've only freed a tiny fraction of what the Null have taken." Commander Choi's Marines had fought boarding actions against 2 Null ships that had been disabled by the life energy waves. What they found inside confirmed their worst fears. The ships weren't just vessels. They were living things, grown rather, then built and powered by the stolen essence of entire civilizations. "These things are like vampires," Choi reported to Han Sol. "They feed on life energy to grow and reproduce. Every world they consume makes them stronger." As the human fleet regrouped, messages began arriving from Earth and the other human colonies. Word of the battle had spread, and reinforcements were on the way. But Han Sol knew it wouldn't be enough. The Null Collective was vast, and humanity was just one species. That's when the first alien allies arrived. The sleek ships of the Alteron Empire dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. The Alterans were proud warriors who had once been enemies of Earth, but they put aside old grudges when they heard about the Null threat. "Human Admiral," came the formal voice of Alteron Fleet Commander Valtar, "we offer our assistance in this battle. The Null Collective threatens all life in the galaxy." More ships arrived throughout the day. The Ancient Sage Collective sent their massive library vessels filled with the accumulated knowledge of 100 different species. The Peaceful Healers Guild contributed their hospital ships, ready to tend to the wounded from any species. But the coordination problems were immediate and obvious. Each alien species had different weapons, different tactics, and different ideas about how to fight the enemy. The Alterans wanted to charge straight at the Null ships in glorious battle. The sages insisted on studying the enemy first. The healers wanted to try communication and negotiation. General Song found herself in command of a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from dozens of different worlds, all trying to work together against a common enemy. The language barriers alone were a nightmare. "Admiral," she called to Han Sol, "we need to establish a unified command structure. These species are brave, but they're not used to working together." Han Sol thought about the problem. Humans had always been good at adapting to new situations and working with others when necessary. It was one of the traits that had helped them survive on their harsh home world and later succeed in galactic politics. Send out new formation orders, he decided. Mix human ships with alien vessels in each battle group. Our captains can coordinate the different fighting styles and translate orders as needed. The solution wasn't perfect, but it worked. Human officers found ways to combine Alteron aggression with sage wisdom and healer technology. The mixed fleet began to function as a unit, each species contributing their strengths while humans provided the tactical flexibility to hold it all together. Engineer Jun Ho made another crucial discovery while studying the wreckage of a Null ship. "Admiral, I figured out how their dimensional weapons work. They shift the attack beam into higher dimensions, then bring it back into normal space inside our shields. Can we defend against it?" Han Sol asked. "Maybe. If we can modify our shield generators to create dimensional barriers, we might be able to block their attacks. But it will take time, and we'll need help from alien technology." The work began immediately. Human engineers collaborated with Alteron weapon specialists and Sage theoretical physicists. They combined Earth's practical engineering with alien scientific knowledge, creating new defensive systems in a matter of hours. While the fleet prepared for the next battle, pilot Da-Yoon led a reconnaissance mission toward the approaching Null force. What she saw through her fighter's sensors made her stomach turn. The main Null fleet was enormous. Thousands of biomechanical ships of all sizes, from small scouts to massive vessels the size of moons. Valkyrie leader to fleet command, she transmitted. You're not going to believe the size of this thing. It's not just a fleet, it's like an entire civilization made of ships. But Da-Yoon also noticed something else. At the center of the Null formation was a structure that wasn't a ship at all. It was a geometric collector like the ones on the planet, but vastly larger. This one was collecting life energy from across multiple star systems and channeling it to the fleet. Admiral, Da-Yoon reported, I think I found their main power source. If we can destroy that central collector, it might cripple their entire force. Han Sol studied the tactical data Da-Yoon had gathered. The central collector was protected by hundreds of Null ships, and getting close to it would be nearly impossible. But it might be their only chance to stop the invasion before it spread to other systems. All ships, prepare for full attack, Han Sol ordered. We're going to punch through their defenses and take out that collector, no matter what it costs. As the combined human and alien fleet prepared for the most important battle in galactic history, Han Sol looked around his bridge at the mixed crew of humans and aliens working together. Maybe they could actually win this fight. Maybe the Deathworlders and their new allies were strong enough to save the galaxy. The final battle was about to begin. Ambassador Hyen-Woo Lim had never imagined he would be negotiating battle plans instead of peace treaties. The diplomatic meeting room aboard the Indomitable was packed with representatives from 20 different species, all arguing about the best way to attack the Null Collective's main fleet. The Alteron commander, a 7-foot-tall warrior covered in ceremonial scars, pounded his fist on the table. We charge directly at their center. Glorious battle will carry the day. The ancient sage representative, whose species had evolved beyond physical form centuries ago, projected his thoughts directly into everyone's minds. Patience is required. We must study their weaknesses first and plan carefully. Hyen-Woo listened to the arguments while studying the tactical displays. Each species brought valuable capabilities to the fight, but they all had different ideas about how to use them. The humans needed to find a way to unite these diverse forces into a single effective weapon. Friends, Hyen-Woo said, standing up. To address the group, we all want the same thing, to stop the Null Collective before they destroy more worlds. But we can only succeed if we work together. He activated a holographic display showing the enemy fleet formation. The humans will coordinate the overall attack plan. Each species will contribute what they do best, but under unified command. There were grumbles and protests, but gradually the alien representatives agreed. They had all heard stories of human tactical flexibility and their ability to adapt quickly to changing situations. If anyone could make this diverse coalition work, it would be the Deathworlders. Commander Su Jin-on found herself in charge of the first Joint Species Task Force in galactic history. Her battle group included human destroyers, Alteron heavy cruisers, Sage science vessels, and healer support ships. Getting them to work together was like trying to conduct an orchestra where half the musicians played different instruments and the other half didn't read music. All ships maintain formation, Sujin ordered as they approached the outer edge of the Null fleet. Remember, we strike fast and hard, then withdraw before they can organize a counterattack. The mixed fleet moved into attack position, each ship type contributing its unique strengths. The human vessels provided tactical coordination and electronic warfare. The Alteron ships brought overwhelming firepower. The Sage vessels used their advanced sensors to find weak points in enemy defenses. The healer ships stayed back, ready to rescue damaged vessels and their crews. When the attack began, it was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. Different species using completely different technologies, all working toward the same goal. Alteron plasma cannons fired alongside human missile salvos. Sage gravity weapons created spatial distortions that confused null targeting systems. Healer tractor beams pulled damaged Allied ships to safety. The null ships responded with their usual dimensional attacks, but the Coalition was ready. Specialist Dong Hyan-ho had spent days working with alien scientists to create new defensive systems. Human shield generators combined with Sage, dimensional mathematics and Alteron power cores to create barriers that could actually stop the enemy. Weapons, it's working. Su Jin called out as null energy beams struck her shields and were deflected instead of passing through. The dimensional barriers are holding. The Coalition fleet pressed deeper into the enemy formation, heading for the massive central collector that powered the null advance. But as they got closer, the true size of their enemy became clear. The main null fleet wasn't just thousands of ships, it was hundreds of thousands, all connected by streams of life energy flowing toward the central collector. Dr. Kyung-ho Bei worked frantically aboard the science vessel Discovery, analyzing the energy patterns of the null collective. What he found changed everything they thought they knew about their enemy. Admiral Kim, he transmitted to the Indomitable, the null collective isn't just a fleet or even a species. It's a single entity that exists across multiple dimensions. What we're fighting are just the parts of it that project into our space. Han Sol felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying we can't really hurt it? Not with conventional weapons. But I think I've found a way. If we can disrupt the dimensional connection between the entity and its projections, we might be able to trap it in higher dimensions where it can't affect our space. The plan that emerged was both brilliant and insane. A coalition would have to penetrate to the very center of the null formation and plant a dimensional bomb next to the main collector. The explosion would sever the collective's connection to normal space, but the team that delivered the bomb would have almost no chance of survival. Colonel Yoon-ji Yu volunteered to lead the suicide mission. She was one of humanity's most decorated soldiers, a veteran of the border wars who had never lost a battle. Her team would include volunteers from every species in the coalition. We go in fast and quiet, Yoon-ji explained to her mixed team of humans, Alterans, sages, and others. Plant the bomb, activate it, and try to get out before it goes off. The dimensional explosion will either save the galaxy or destroy everything within 100 light years. As the main fleet engaged the outer null defenses, Yoon-ji's team slipped through the battle in a modified Sage stealth ship. The vessel used advanced dimensional technology to phase partially out of normal space, making it invisible to null sensors. The journey to the central collector was a nightmare of narrow escapes and close calls. Null patrol ships swept the area constantly, their biomechanical hulls rippling with stored life energy. Several times, the stealth ship had to hide motionless in the shadow of larger null vessels, its crew barely breathing as enemy sensors swept over them. When they finally reached the central collector, the team was stunned by its size. The structure was larger than most moons, a geometric nightmare of triangles and squares that pulsed with the stolen life force of billions of beings. Energy streams from across the galaxy flowed into it, feeding the null collective's expansion into normal space. My God, whispered Alteron warrior Korval as he stared at the massive structure. How many worlds did they consume to build that thing? Yoon-ji checked the dimensional bomb one last time. The device was a combination of human engineering, Sage theoretical physics, and Alteron power systems. According to the calculations, it would create a controlled dimensional collapse that would sever the collective's connection to their space. The plan called for the team to plant the bomb at the base of the central collector, but as they approached, they discovered something that changed everything. The collector wasn't just a machine. It was alive, pulsing with a malevolent intelligence that had consumed entire civilizations. "Colonel," called out human technician Min Ho, "I'm reading something." Inside the collector. It's not just stored energy. There are actual consciousness patterns in there. Billions of them. Yoonji realized what they were seeing. Every being the Null Collective had ever consumed was still alive inside the central collector, their consciousness, trapped and used to power the entity's expansion. Destroying the collector would free them, but it would also kill every single one of them permanently. The moral weight of the decision was staggering. Save the galaxy by committing genocide against the already dead, or find another way that might not work at all. That's when the trapped consciousnesses began to communicate with the team. Voices in 100 different languages filled their minds, all saying the same thing: free us, end our suffering. Let us die with purpose. The voices belonged to the Valani, who had been consumed, and to countless other species that had fallen to the Null Advance over thousands of years. They had been aware the entire time, forced to power their own destroyer's expansion across the galaxy. "Do it," came the mental voice of a Valani healer whose life energy had been among the first taken. "We have been slaves long enough. Let our deaths mean something." Yoonji's team planted the dimensional bomb at the base of the central collector while the main fleet fought desperately to hold off the Null defenders. As the countdown began, something unexpected happened. The trapped consciousnesses began to rebel against their captors. Billions of souls turned their stored energy against the Null Collective itself, disrupting the entity's control over its physical projections. Null ships throughout the galaxy began to malfunction as their power source turned against them. "The bomb is armed," Yoonji reported to the fleet. 60 seconds to detonation. As her team raced back toward their stealth ship, the Null Collective finally realized what was happening. The entity's attention turned toward the central collector, and massive biomechanical defenders began converging on Yoonji's position. The final battle for the galaxy's survival began with less than 30 seconds left on the countdown. Human ships, Alteron cruisers, and vessels from a dozen other species fought side by side against an enemy that existed in multiple dimensions. It was a battle between life and death itself, between the desire to grow and create and the hunger to consume and destroy. When the dimensional bomb exploded, it lit up the entire system with released life energy. The central collector vanished in a burst of pure light, and the connection between the Null Collective and normal space was severed forever. The war was over, but the cost had been terrible. Half the coalition fleet was gone. Entire worlds would need decades to recover from the damage. Fleet Admiral Sang-Min Ko stood in the command center of the massive battle station Eternal Vigilance, watching as reports came in from across the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the dimensional bomb had severed the Null Collective's connection to normal space, but the aftermath was still unfolding. The good news was that no new Null attacks had been reported anywhere in the galaxy. The bad news was that the entity's physical projections, the biomechanical ships, were still active in normal space, and they were angry. Without their connection to the higher dimensional collective, they had become independent predators, scattered across hundreds of star systems. Colonel Yoon-ji-yu had survived the final battle, though barely. She now commanded a joint task force hunting down the remaining Null ships. Her mixed crew of humans and aliens had become experts at fighting the biomechanical vessels, but each battle was still dangerous and costly. "Admiral," came the voice of Communication Officer Da Young, "we're receiving a distress call from the Fall Kepler system. 3 null ships have been spotted near the mining colonies. Sang-min nodded grimly. This was the new reality. Constant vigilance against the scattered remnants of humanity's greatest enemy. The war was won, but the cleanup would take years. Dr. Kyung-ho Bae had been working with scientists from dozens of species to understand the null technology left behind. His laboratory aboard the research station New Horizon was filled with alien artifacts and captured biomechanical components. The interesting thing, he explained to Admiral Sang-min during their weekly briefing, is that without their connection to the collective, these ships are actually dying. They need life energy to survive, but they can't efficiently harvest it on their own. How long before they're all dead? Sang-min asked. Maybe 10 years, maybe 20. But they'll cause a lot of damage before then. Each ship is still capable of destroying entire worlds if left unchecked. The solution had been to create a new kind of galactic defense force. Ships from every major species worked together under human coordination, using the tactical methods that had proven successful against the null collective. The humans provided leadership and flexibility, while their alien allies contributed their unique technologies and capabilities. Captain Ji-woo Park commanded one of these mixed squadrons, hunting null remnants in the Outer Rim territories. Her crew included Alteron warriors, sage researchers, healer medics, and humans from a dozen different colonies. They had learned to work together so well that species differences hardly mattered anymore. Contact ahead, reported sensor operator Kang Ho, an Alteron whose natural warrior instincts had been tempered by human tactical training. Single null ship, medium size, moving toward the Proxima colonies. Ji-woo studied the tactical display. The null ship was one of the medium-sized harvesters, still dangerous, but manageable for her squadron. All ships, attack formation Beta. Remember, these things fight differently now that they're cut off from the collective. The battle was swift and decisive. The isolated null ship fought with desperate fury, but it couldn't match the coordinated assault of the mixed squadron. When it was finally destroyed, Ji-woo felt the familiar mixture of relief and sadness. Each victory brought the galaxy closer to safety, but it also meant the permanent death of all the consciousness trapped inside the biomechanical vessel. Meanwhile, on Earth, a new generation of defenders was being trained. The planet's harsh environment, which had once isolated humanity from the rest of the galaxy, had become a valuable training ground. Young beings from dozens of species came to Earth's academies to learn how to think like Deathworlders. Instructor Won Bin Lee led a class of mixed-species cadets through survival training in the Amazon rainforest. His students included young Alterans learning patience, sage offspring discovering physical courage, and healer children developing the ability to make hard decisions under pressure. The key to survival, Won Bin explained as his students struggled through the hostile jungle, is adaptability. You can't control your environment, but you can control how you respond to it. The lessons being taught on Earth went far beyond military tactics. The various species were learning to understand each other in ways that had never been possible before. Cultural exchange programs brought human artists to Alteron war colleges and sage philosophers to Earth's universities. Ambassador Hyun-woo Lim found himself busier than ever, negotiating agreements for this new era of cooperation. The old Galactic Council had been restructured, with humans taking a leading role in coordinating defense against future threats. The galaxy is changing, he reported to Earth's government during a routine briefing. Species that barely spoke to each other before the Null Crisis are now working together on everything from trade agreements to scientific research. But the most important changes were happening at a more personal level. Families that included members from multiple species were becoming common, especially among the mixed military crews. Children grew up speaking 3 or 4 different languages, and learning to see the galaxy from dozens of different perspectives, Dr. Eugene Park had established a new research center dedicated to studying the consciousness patterns that had been freed when the central collector was destroyed. Her work suggested that the billions of souls that had died in the final battle had not simply vanished. They had somehow merged with the fabric of space itself, creating new possibilities for life and growth. I think they're still with us in some way, she explained to Admiral Han Sol during one of his visits to the research center. The energy readings suggest that consciousness can exist independently of physical form, at least temporarily. Han Sol, now retired from active duty, but still serving as an advisor to the defense forces, found the idea both comforting and unsettling. The Valani and all the other species that had been consumed by the Null Collective had made the ultimate sacrifice to save the galaxy. The least the survivors could do was build something worthy of that sacrifice. The memorial station Eternal Memory was constructed at the site where the central collector had been destroyed. It served as both a monument to the fallen and a research facility dedicated to preventing future threats. The station was staffed by volunteers from every species in the galaxy, united in their commitment to protecting life. Commander Su Jin An, now promoted to Admiral, oversaw the construction of new deep space monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. These facilities watched for any signs of threats from beyond known space, staffed by crews trained in human tactical methods, but equipped with the best technology from all member species. We can't prevent every possible threat, she admitted, during a strategy meeting, but we can make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. The galaxy had learned hard lessons from the Null Crisis. The importance of working together, the value of different perspectives, and the need for constant vigilance against those who would destroy rather than create. As the years passed, the mixed species defense fleets became a permanent fixture of galactic society. Young beings from all over known space competed for the chance to serve, alongside the legendary Deathworlders and their allies. Earth's reputation had evolved from dangerous barbarians to the species you want on your side when everything goes wrong. Admiral Sang-Min Ko stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Vigilance, watching a training exercise involving ships from 8 different species. The coordination was flawless, each crew contributing their strengths while humans provided the tactical flexibility that held it all together. His aide, a young sage named Velinari, who had grown up on Earth, approached with the daily reports. Sir, the Outer Rim patrols report another successful hunt. 3 more Null remnants destroyed with no allied casualties. Sang-Min nodded, satisfied. Each victory brought them closer to the day when the last Null ship would be destroyed and the galaxy would be truly safe. But he knew that new threats would eventually emerge from the vast unknown regions beyond mapped space. When that day came, the galaxy would be ready. The Deathworlders had shown everyone what was possible when different species worked together toward a common goal. The harsh lessons of Earth had become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization, one built on cooperation rather than competition. The memorial wall in the main corridor of the Eternal Vigilance listed the names of everyone who had died fighting the Null Collective. Humans, Alterans, sages, healers, and dozens of other species, all united in death as they had been in life. At the top of the memorial, in letters that could be read by beings from any species, was a simple message. They died so that life could continue. We live so that their sacrifice has meaning. The galaxy was safe, but the price of safety was eternal vigilance. And in that vigilance, the Deathworlders and their allies had found something more valuable than victory. They had found each other, the stars continued to shine, and life continued to grow and spread throughout the galaxy, protected by the United. Fleets of species that had learned to see beyond their differences. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun, And somewhere in the fabric of space itself, the consciousness of billions of freed souls watched over their children, ready to help if the galaxy ever faced such darkness again.